Greetings, viewers. My name is Zuchamo Yanthan, Faculty of Library and Information Science in School of Social Sciences. Well, I take this wonderful opportunity to welcome each and every one of you to our daily conference session from the School of Social Sciences. Today's topic is titled as Barriers to Effective Communication. This is from BLI 225, and that is communication skills of Bachelor's degree of Library and Information Science. Well, communication skill is one of the full courses in BLIS program, and we have incorporated this course in our BLIS program because we realize the importance of communication skills in library and information science profession. And so since 2015, BLI 225 communication skill has been a part of the bachelor's degree of library and information science. And today's, as I have said, the topic is titled as barriers to communication skills. And this is a very important part of the course because especially like when there are barriers in the communication, there will be a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of gaps in our dissemination of information, and especially library and information science being an information provider. One of the main aim is to communicate effectively to the library users. Hence, it is important that we need to identify the barriers which can happen in communication skills or which can happen in the library services so that we will be able to eliminate those barriers, and hence after eliminating those barriers, we will be able to communicate effectively to the library users. So today's topic is titled as barrier to effective communication. And why study communication? Why study communication? Well, Dr. Lee Macken, professor of communication, says studying communication can improve how we see others, as communication is the way we meet others, develop and manage relationships, and work effectively with others. He further aids studying communication develops important life skills, critical thinking, problem solving, conflict resolution, and team management. And studying communication can improve self-knowledge and self-perception because, most self-knowledge comes to us through communication. And studying communication can improve how we see others, as communication is the way we meet others, develop and manage relationships, and work effectively with others. And studying communication can increase our understanding of relationships. And studying communication develops important life skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, conflict resolution, and team building as well. And why communication, skills is increasingly becoming an important field of study? Well, due to our increasingly globalized, connected world, communication is growing, its importance and relevance by, day by day, and not only will you stand out in a crowded applicant pool, but you will also, have the skills to advance in your career and become a valued asset on your team. And effective communication skills not only take your career in the right direction, but also help you to land the job you want, as well as secure promotions. And as I have said, why study communication skills in library and information science program? Well, library and information science is a service-oriented profession where we, handle or where we come across different types of people visiting the library. And in this scenario, if we are not able to communicate well to the library users, there will be barriers in the library service. That is also the reason why it is so important that people serving in the library and information science profession should acknowledge the importance of enhancing communication skills, because that's the way they will be able to meet the information needs of the people. When I say people, means different types of people visiting the library, be it research scholars, teachers, students, or it could be any people from any walk of life. So different people, types of people visits the library. And in this kind of scenario, unless and until the library and information science professional acknowledge the importance of enhancing communication skills, then there will be so many barriers in the communication. So that is the reason why it is so important, or why it is so relevant for the library and information science discipline to introduce this communication skill as part of the bachelor's degree of library and information science. And as I have said, the relevance of library and information science, communication skill and library and information science, like as communication is the heart of every organizations, everything we do in the workplace or outside is a result of communication. And communication not only helps people to facilitate the process of sharing information and knowledge, but also helps people to develop relationships with others. And good communication skills are essential to allow others and yourself to understand information more accurately and quickly. And well, effective communication. When we say effective communication, it means that the very purpose of one's transmitting information, or the very purpose of communicating, delivering information, it reaches, it fulfills its purpose. Or to say that if my purpose of teaching or disseminating information to the people in the visiting in the library, if they are able to understand what I intend them to know or intend them to understand, it means that is called effective communication. And well, effective communication can happen by following the basic principles. One is clarity. Clarity means like be clear about what you say. Second is concise, using simple words and only what is needed. Third is concrete, use the right facts and figures. And correct, that is using correct language, and grammar. And coherent means consistency, maintaining consistency. And complete means, no breakup, without, breaking up any information. And of course, lastly, that be courteous, be respectful, which means be respectful and kind and honest. And well, right style of communication, in breaking barriers, the style of communication becomes very important, when we approach the right style in our communication, then we will be able to, the effective communication can happen when we use the right style of communication. Today we will also we will cover up the different styles of communication, and we will also look at the different styles of communication to understand, each style, so that we may also be aware about, the style of communication that we may be using in our day-to-day affair. Because why understanding the style of communication is important, because most conflicts in society or most conflicts in a relationship happens because of not using the right style of communication. And there are four styles of communication. One is passive style. Second is uh, aggressive, passive aggressive, and the third style is uh, you know passive aggressive, and the fourth one is aggressive. And why styles of communication? Because communication styles are the broad ways in which people tend to communicate with others, and our communication styles have the power to build meaningful relationship or connections, which is a crucial aspects of success in an area of life. And as I have said, there are four main styles, communication styles: passive, passive aggressive, aggressive, and assertive. And as I have clearly mentioned, why it is so important to understand the different styles of communication, because when we are talking about effective communication, when we are talking about building relationships, communicating well with others, it is so important that we choose to we choose the right style of communication in order to, in our day-to-day communication with others. And especially when we are in the library and information science profession, it is so important again to not only identify but also to acknowledge the importance of identifying the right style, the right usage of styles in our communication with users in the library. And first is the passive style of communication. And passive communication is a style in which you avoid directly saying what you think or want, and that often involves uncomfortable body language. And many people with social anxiety end up using passive communication. And passive communication is a pattern of not sharing your opinions and failing to protect your rights and get your needs met. And passive communication fail to be assertive and allow others to take advantage of them. And a passive communicator avoids directly saying what they think or want. They often feel as though their needs are not as important as the needs of others, so they avoid speaking about them. Well, you can recognize a passive communicator with the following behaviors. One is like they have a difficulty in making eye contact. Secondly, they have inability. They don't have the ability, or they have the inability to say no, and allow others to take their rights. And thirdly, they avoid speaking out their concerns out of fear or maybe shyness. And fourthly, poor posture and fail to assert their rights. So coming to the context of a library, for example, when visitors come to the library, and the library professionals, we can just put ourselves in the library scenario. When users visit the library, and if we communicate with the library users in a passive way, I don't think the users will have a positive impression about the library professional who is showcasing a passive communication by not confidently showing a positive posture, not giving an eye contact, or not directly speaking it out, right? So it is so important that if the library professionals are to effectively give service in the library, it is so important that they do not, they do not use a passive communication, because passive communication gives a very negative image a very negative image of the library, to the professionals. So that is the reason why it is important that we need to not only acknowledge but identify if we are having a passive style of communication. It is important that we try to get out of it, try to improve, be conscious of it, and try to learn a more positive style of communication. Second is like the aggressive style of communication, aggressive communicators. The aggressive communication style is emphasized by speaking in a loud and demanding voice, maintaining intense eye contact and dominating manners, and aggressive communicators are verbally and also physically abusive. And you can recognize, an aggressive communicator with the following behaviors. One is like they try to dominate others, use humiliation to control others, and they criticize, blame, or attack others. And they tend to be very impulsive, and they have low frustration tolerance. It also means impatience, and tend to speak very loudly, demanding, and also overbearing voice. These are some of the aggressive behavior, These are some of the aggressive behavior. It is so important because now putting ourselves in a library scenario, just let us put ourselves in the library scenario. If we are in the library, we are library professionals, and when library users come to the library, and if we communicate to them in an aggressive style of communication, what kind of impression will the library users will have, to the library? Definitely the library users is going to have a very negative impression about the library, and who knows, they may not even like to return back to the library because of having a very negative impression with the professional who has or who communicates in a aggressive communication, aggressive style of communication. So that's why it is important for us, that we need to identify, or we need to enhance, we need to identify and use the right style of communication so that we may be able to give a very positive outlook or positive impression to the library users, who may be a teacher, who may be a student, who may be a researcher, or who may be anybody, a public from anybody. So it is so important. That is the reason why it is so important that we identify, we acknowledge the importance of understanding style of communication, and also very important that we need to use the right style of communication in our day-to-day life, be it with our colleagues, or it can be in a social, or even within the family. Because when somebody try to communicate with us in a very aggressive way, we tend to build a very negative impression about them, and we may not even like to establish a relationship with them. So that is the reason why it is so important for us to understand the importance of choosing the right kind of style in our day-to-day communication with people. And this is the way we will be able to break communication barriers. And of course, as I have said, why aggressive communication is bad? Because when a person uses aggressive communication, the right of others are getting denied. And when this happens, others feel victimized, and relationship suffers. And in other way, an aggressive relationship is bad for the aggressor, as well as the recipient of the aggression. Because why it is not only bad for the aggressor, but also the recipient, because it spoils relationship, right? By using aggressive style of communication, we tend to spoil relationship. We tend to spoil relationship, and that creates a lot of hindrances in building relationship. That's why it is important for us to acknowledge and also choose the right kind of style of communication. And the negative impact of aggressive communication are like it can lead to aggressive response from others, barriers to communication, and distrust, stress, and fear of sharing, feelings of disrespect, lack of connection, more conflict, negative interaction, poor goal achievement. So now that another style of communication is the passive aggressive communicators. It's very important for us to also understand this style, that is passive aggressive communicators. Passive aggressive is a style in which individuals appear passive on the surface but are really acting out anger in subtle interact. People who develop a pattern of passive aggressive communication feels incapable of dealing directly with the object of their resentment. And passive aggressive communicators are most likely to communicate with body language or a lack of open communication with another people. And we can identify people who are passive aggressive communicators like with this behavior. Like one is muter to themselves rather than confront the person or the issue, have difficulty acknowledging their anger, and use facial expressions that don't match how they feel, that is smiling when angry, or and so forth. And they often use sarcasm, and deny there is a problem, and they appear cooperative while purposely doing things to annoy and disrupt. And so it is important for us, to know this style of communication, that is the passive aggressive communication. It is definitely doesn't give a good impression at all. And if library professionals who are handling different types of users in the library, if they uses this passive aggressive style of communication, definitely people will not have a good impression about them, because it shows insincerity. They tend to act or behave the opposite way. They may be very angry, but they may be showing smile, or like as I have said, they generally also uses sarcasm, and they deny that there is a problem. So that is also the reason why we need to understand this. And then the last one is the assertive communication. Assertive communicator is a style in which people or in which individuals, clearly state their opinions and feelings and firmly advocate for their rights and needs without violating the rights of others. And these individuals value themselves, their time, and their emotional, spiritual, and physical needs, and are strong advocates for themselves while being very respectful of the rights of others. And assertive communication behaviors are, one is like they state their needs and wants clearly, appropriately, and respectfully. Express feelings clearly, appropriately, and respectfully. And communicate respect for others. Listen well without interpreting. Feel in control of self and have a good eye contact. That since if people are sincere, definitely they will always have a good positive body language, and one of the positive language is eye contact. So they tend to give you an eye contact and speaks in a calm and clear tone of voice. So these are some of the behavior of uh, assertive style of communication. And of course, they feel connected to others, feel competent in control, not allow others to abuse or manipulate them, stand up for the rights, they feel connected to others, and they feel in control of their lives and able to mature because they address issues and problems as they are and create a respectful environment for others to grow. Yeah, so assertive communication is very important. This is the most positive style of communication, because when you communicate in an assertive style of communication, you are also in control of your life. You are also in control, and you are respectful of others. You are very respectful of others. Of course, you are also respectful of your own identity, and you will also acknowledge the dignity of the other person. So people who are assertive tend to create a very positive image or impression, be it at a workplace or social life or even in the family circle as well. So that is the reason why it is so important for us to identify the right style of communication and the right usage of style of communication. And like besides this, there are many different types of barriers to communication. One is the physical barriers. One is like cultural barriers because of the differences. People coming from different cultures, there will be always a barriers. Take place happens. Environmental barriers are there. Language barriers. Even English, when we speak English, everybody do not speak, in a proper way. They have a lot of, like their local accent is there. And because of that, that also creates communication barriers and emotional barriers, gender barriers, perceptual barriers, technology barriers, and lack of attention. Of course, when there is a lack of attention, there will definitely be a barrier, in the communication. And because when you are not attentive, you will not be able to uh, absorb the information that is coming in front of you, right? So that is the reason why it becomes a barrier if we are not attentive, if we don't remain focused. So these are some of the barriers to communication. Yeah, so I hope I will get a chance to elaborate further all the points that I have mentioned in the next presentation. So with this, I come to the end of my today's presentation on communication barriers. Thank you very much.
We wear clothes on a daily basis. But have we ever wondered, where do our clothes come from? Who makes our clothing? And who are the people